to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast with your hosts Griffin Palmer, CJ Hickman, Jason Cabrera, and Ryan Mitchell.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, April 25th. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast. I'm your host, Griffin Palmer. I am joined over the phone by CJ the Hitman Hickman and Jason Cabrera. What's up, guys?
What's going on, man?
Not much. Another day, show 101, a new leaf. Getting ready to have our final discussion about these rookies, at least pre-draft.
Hey.
Well, pre-draft anyway.
You sound excited about that, CJ. You're more excited to get to the draft, or just more excited to move on from rookie conversation?
I'm so excited to just get to the draft. It's like Super Bowl week. You know, you got the whole build up for it, and then it gets about Thursday and Friday where you're just like, okay, let's just get to it, because I'm getting tired of seeing people talk to players that don't matter. Like,
the anticipation's starting to burn out a little bit, and you're getting a little over it.
It's losing all of its luster, and I don't want to lose the audience, and I feel like I'm doing that.
Oh, wow. All right, well,
that's dark.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's keeping it 100. I don't want to. I mean, look, the thread is already gone. The sweater is built. Look, it's just time. It's time to move on to pants.
Wow. Fair enough.
Yeah, you do get a little tired of the smoke screens and the non-news. You get a lot of that. Oh, I heard this player might be going last in the draft. It's not going to happen.
It has been a long month of us sorting through the BS to even decide what we should and should not report on this show. So, and that's the time of year. So, on one hand, I completely get it. And, I think everyone's just, this is the second event of the year. Free agency starts, and then we have to wait for the draft. And then it's another really long haul before anything else happens. So, on one hand, I'm ready for it to get here because that gives us lots of new stuff to talk about. And then we can move on with our rankings and everything else that we're going to be doing post the draft. But on the other hand, then you have this long gap, and you're just like, oh, where's football? So, this will be our last one.
We got Hard Knocks and Top 100 to fill our time.
So good, Top 100.
Top tier quality programming from the league. So, but I'm sure we'll talk about all that. It'll give us some interesting talking points. But enough looking into the future. We're going to focus on the present. Today, we're going to, of course, be having an amazing show. We're going to be talking about our final pre-draft thoughts. This includes bold predictions, players outside of day one to keep an eye on for fantasy purposes, things of that nature. Of course, we're going to bring you all the top headlines from around the league. As always, please make sure you guys do subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, YouTube, the works. We're a year-round show. Make sure you don't miss a show, because that'll be pretty unfortunate for you. It makes us sad. You can also follow the show, subscribe on Twitter at the FF Fanatics. Easiest way to keep up with us individually as well. We're all on there. Links are all in the description. And follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Fantasy Football Fanatics. Join the community, keep up with the conversation, good things like that. And the most important one of all, if you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/The Fantasy Football Fanatics. You can really help us keep the lights on, get yourself a lot of cool bonus perks, including the bonus episodes every single week, generally the much more advanced, in-depth conversations, or, hey, if you just need another hour or so of us a week, there's your opportunity to do that. So we're going to move, so we're going to move into our warm-up question of the day, which is not a warm-up at all. It's kind of perplexing. This comes from the mailbag. This one comes from Jim in Scranton, PA. So, nice office reference there. Appreciate that. Yeah. So we've had a McLovin and we've had Jim. So super bad and an office. So I like it. His question, he says, "Hey guys, I'm in a 12-team keeper league, and I can keep one of these guys: Jordan Howard in the 10th or Michael Thomas in the 11th. So, what are your guys' thoughts here? Clearly he killed it in his draft, and you know why?
I was going to say,
he was listening.
Either way, you're set. That's pretty good picking that you got there.
I just want to point out to our listeners real fast. You know why he probably killed it like this? Because he was paying attention to the rookie conversations. All right, now, all the stuff we've been talking about.
Look at that. Full circle.
Full circle. Yeah. Nailed it. All right. Who wants to go first with this?
Circle of football.
I wish that he would have gave us a glimpse shot into his whole team, so it could have made it a little easier. But
I believe this was a one-keeper situation, so this is his one keeper for the league. It's not a dynasty league.
Yeah. Okay, one keeper.
Yeah. He didn't say anything about a dynasty league, so I'm assuming this is his one keeper for the entire draft.
Well, man, this is tough.
This is tough because Jordan Howard's going to miss 4 games, and that sucks. You got 4 weeks. But this is the thing: Jordan Howard's going to be as we've all talked about, he's going to be one of the top running backs. And you can build a team around a running back. Whereas Michael Thomas is a great wide receiver, but I think there's more options at wide receiver than there are at running back. So I would lean toward Jordan Howard, I think.
I'm going to say I like the Jordan Howard pick. I do got him finishing top 5 this upcoming year. But I'm going to go, just to be different, I'm going to say Michael Thomas. I'm going to say Michael Thomas because I like the connection that he has with Drew Brees. And the last time I saw magic happen with Drew Brees and the wide receiver was a guy named Marcus Colston. Anybody remember that guy? Remember how good he was in fantasy? So I think this is the second coming of this guy. He's more athletic than Marcus Colston, man. Younger. He's gonna do his thing, man. I just like the overall potential that this guy can be able to do. I like Jordan, but just to be different and just to be on the wide receiver side, I'm gonna say Michael Thomas in this one.
Jason, did you say Jordan Howard was missing 4 games?
Was it 4 games? Isn't he suspended?
No, Doug Martin's suspended.
That's the Dougie.
Did Jordan Howard not get suspended? I seem to recall Jordan Howard being suspended.
I heard nothing about Jordan Howard getting suspended.
Are you blackmailing Jordan Howard so he plays for your team?
I'll go with Jordan Howard suspension.
I don't think that's the thing.
Maybe I'm just really tired. That could be it.
Are you blacklisting Jordan Howard so he only plays for the Red Cardinals?
No. I'm going to go and say no.
I don't think this is a thing, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I apologize. If that's not even the thing, then it's not even a question in my mind. I would go with Jordan Howard.
Okay, Jordan Howard.
I'm like debating, should we start the show over? No, for me...
No, just let the fans know that I'm a moron right now. That's we can do that. That's fine.
Is that
my
even
bad.
news?
My bad.
I don't know.
Your words.
Hilarious. You're funny and ugly at the same time.
Oh, that's cute. Shots fired. I'm going to simply say I would go with the better value here. The running back, that's one thing. I love Jordan Howard from last year. The problem with that is that I don't know how that offense is going to switch their philosophy based on what they're going to be doing, and I think he could repeat. But I have both of these guys currently listed as second-round talents, so it's a little bit better return on Michael Thomas. So I actually kind of lean Michael Thomas. So what was that? 2 Jordan Howards and Michael Thomas?
There's two Michael Howard. There's 2
Michael
Thomas.
2 Michael Thomas.
Over Jordan.
Right. It's nitpicking. It's that 1 round, but if this is your 1 keeper, you get 1 round, better return on value. And yes, the running back position is harder to nail down the top tier talent, but it's also a more volatile position. Injuries happen more frequently, and Michael Thomas's opportunity has gone up, where Jordan Howard has had a lot of changes around him in the offense. So I would lean Michael Thomas, but you could probably make a case either way. If this was a dynasty league, of course, this would be a different argument. But you also
have to remember that they have an unproven quarterback out there now, and I think he's probably going to lean on that run game a little bit more. So that. Those things together, I would tend to lean more toward the running back.
All right, fair enough.
You're right.
I just like Michael Thomas now with Brandon Cooks being gone. Yeah. Michael Thomas is going to get a even larger uptick in targets and therefore probably production in his second year. So I like Michael Thomas. Could go either way. I like both these guys. Yeah. All right,
it's not a bad. Like I said, both of these are very good options. Yeah. So he's in a good way no matter what.
Griffin, too sweet me. We did it.
Woo! All right, with that, we will move on to some of the top headlines from around the league, starting with a league-wide headline, and this is this is in line with a lot of the things we've been hearing, and more sources are reporting on this time from CBS's Jason Lock-and-4. Cleveland head coach Hugh Jackson and his staff have stated that they are preferring to draft Michael Garrett with the number 1 overall pick. They have been leaning that way. However, it seems that the front office and owner, Jimmy, I never remember how to say his name, Haslam, I think is how you say it. Haslam. They are leaning more towards drafting Michael Trubisky with the number 1 overall pick.
Cleveland. This is why you have been bad for a long time. Stupidity like this. Listen to your coaches. They know what they're talking about. Do not take Mitchell Trubisky at number 1.
Hey, man,
come on now.
That man Saucy Brown's got a feeling. He's got a feeling.
He's
going to have a feeling of being in the unemployment line if he makes this kind of decision. This is stupidity.
Sashi be all right.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. We've talked for a while, and it's not just us. Everybody has been talking about how not only is there no consensus at who the number one quarterback should be, but there's generally consensus that none of them are necessarily that good. I mean, why are we looking at a number one overall pick at quarterback? Yes, they need a quarterback, especially a quarterback of the future.
Especially when they have a pick, 10 picks later or 11 picks later.
Yep.
You're going to get a shot at one of these quarterbacks with your second pick if you really want one.
Yep.
So you get pass up on a talent, on a beast like Myles Garrett that could shape your whole defense.
It's something. I guess it's something magical about it being a quarterback at the first pick. Maybe it's like a certain magical aura, like the ring from Lord of the Rings. Like if they put it on
because that worked out so well with Jared Goff last year.
Yeah. And we saw what that did to Gollum, and that's going to be Sashi Brown if he makes this decision. He's going to be out on his butt.
Oh, yeah, that's great audio, Jason.
I mean,
thank you.
Look, if they draft Michael Trubisky, the only thing we can say concretely is that it's going to shake up the whole beginning of the draft. Anyone with a head on their shoulders is saying that this shouldn't happen. But if it does, holy crap, that'd be an interesting way to start off the draft. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, we've heard all these reports. We reported on Friday's show that they're talking about how they're willing to move up from 12 to try and get Mitchell. But okay, do that with your second pick. Exactly. Don't do it with the number one overall pick when most of the full-time college analysts, draft analysts are all saying that the number one consensus overall pick is Myles Garrett, and you have a shot to draft him because you're at number one overall. It just doesn't make any sense.
They have a ton of picks. Over the next 2 years, the Cleveland Browns have a crap ton of picks in the first 3 rounds.
More than any other team. Yep.
Absolutely. So use those picks. Don't give up on a number one overall talent to go after a maybe good enough to play as starter, Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, I'm taking nothing away from Mitchell Trubisky. He is probably among the top 2 quarterbacks in this draft, sure. But is he ready to start immediately? No. Is he going to make an impact this year? Absolutely not. Is he the number one overall need for Cleveland right now? I would say no. So, yeah, this would be a very bad decision on their part.
Once again, is there any way I can go back on my Browns thing about them winning 5 games?
No, you may not.
No, you said 8 games.
8 games. 8 games. Anyway, I can tail that back a little bit.
No. Maybe. And as a Ravens fan, I love every second of this. For the listeners, if you missed the quarterback show, just a very quick look back. Mitchell Trubisky is one of the top 4 quarterbacks that a lot of people are saying are interchangeable. He is the one that we all kind of said has the highest floor, but probably the lowest ceiling, and he has problems when under pressure. So that's the guy they're looking at taking, number 1 overall, who's very inconsistent on deep balls. A lot of other notes, but I mean, if you want a full breakdown of the players, you can go back to episode, 97, I think. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's a thing, and it might happen, and we'll know more by the time we're recording on Friday. So, hey, the draft, yay. All right, with that, we'll move on to some running back news, where multiple sources are reporting that New Orleans and Adrian Peterson are closing in on a deal. Now, this is according to multiple sources, though according to those sources as well, this is far from done, but it is moving in that direction.
This just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. It's not the way they run their offense. Why in the world are they even contemplating this? I don't get it.
Why? It's not a good fit. Only good thing that can come from this is that Ingram gets traded to another team that's actually going to use him. That's the only good thing from it.
It is a very confusing situation, and I think this comes from beyond fantasy and just NFL. I mean, like they want that thumper, they want that north-south runner. They're going to get him for relatively cheap, but from the sounds of things, it looks like, at least from the rumors that have come out so far, it's looking like he's looking to make about $3 million plus in the first year, and who knows how long the contract's going to be. So I mean, that's Adrian Peterson at a steal, because earlier reports are saying he was looking at more like $8 million a year.
Everything you're saying to me is what you already have in Mark Ingram, though. I mean, the only thing that's different is that the price. I mean, Ingram is not going to take a pay cut. I mean, why would he? He wants out, so I can see that being the case. But everything else you're saying is thumper. He can catch the ball at the backfield. They're health-wise, they're kind of basically the same player. I mean, what's going on? Why are you doing this?
Well, as we all know, Sean Payton does not like Mark Ingram for some reason.
Yep.
Right.
This is the thing. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe he comes in there and changes the culture, and they become a more balanced offense, which will be extremely scary for anybody in that division. Because they've been so one-dimensional for so long. So maybe he comes in there, gives them that running game. If he can pick up 1,000 yards, or even over 1,000 yards in New Orleans, that's scary. I mean, that's scary for anybody in that division. So maybe we're wrong. I don't see it. I agree with CJ. You got Mark Ingram. He already fills that role. If you're going to go get yourself a running back, go get a Christian McCaffrey in the draft. Somebody that you can plug in and use him more dynamic and do more, throw the ball to more.
Well, get a Kamara later round and be a little Darren Sproles in the outfits. Get somebody something that you can make interchangeable. You want to go get you some OJ Howard. So I don't know why you acting like that's not a thing.
Nope. Well, look. Also, Mark Ingram, he averaged 5.1 yards per carry last season. Pretty darn good.
That's pretty darn awesome, especially given the fact that their offensive line is not great with run blocking. So he picks up 5 yards a carry. That's gold. I don't care if you like him or not. You hold your nose when you're around him, but he's getting stuff done for you.
The bottom line, with Adrian Peterson's age, Adrian Peterson is 5 years older. This would be murder for fantasy, as we know, because the run opportunity is not there in New Orleans, and this would, in my mind, completely be a timeshare. I think that they would use Adrian Peterson as the first, maybe second down back, definitely the goal line, and they would use Mark Ingram for everything else. So, it works in Atlanta. Who says it can't work here? But, I don't know. I just don't like the fit. It's not ideal, but
it works in Atlanta. It works in Atlanta because you got two different kind of backs.
Exactly.
This is not the same situation. These guys are the same kind of dude. They both are thumpers out of the backfield. If they had, like I said, an Adrian Peterson and then a Christian McCaffrey, then I'd be like, okay, I could see that double-headed monster working out pretty well. But these two guys are just the same dude over and over again.
I agree completely. I'm just trying to think of how they would make it work or what makes sense to them. Maybe we would see literally Mark Ingram is still the guy there, and they use Adrian Peterson in the red zone. Who knows? So, I mean, look, it would be good for New Orleans. It'd be terrible for fantasy. So that's all. Of course, that's the main thing we're doing here. We're talking fantasy. So that's news. Everyone keep an eye on that. Though they look, we've heard that again. It's moving in that direction. It's far from being done. And bottom line, I don't think anything's going to happen until well after the draft. So this is leaking from multiple sources, so I could be wrong. It might be sooner than we think, but I still don't think it happens till after all the rookies have been picked up from the draft. So we'll see.
There's going to be a smoke screen, too.
It could be. I don't know if it is because of how many sources this is coming from, unless they're purposely leaking a lot of information. But it could be. But moving on to some other running back news. Buffalo. Buffalo.
Oh, boy.
They declined to match New England's offer to Mike Gillislee. So now Mike Gillislee is officially a New England Patriot. So
that owner just couldn't not get over the fact E.J. Manuel is gone. He is distraught.
He's crying in his office somewhere.
I can't believe I let him go.
I know is that New England, they did a great job here. They got there, and he will be used as their replacement for LeGarrette Blount, so now they can save money on Blount. They have Mike Gillislee pretty much on the cheap, especially compared to what Blount and a lot of the other bigger name running backs would be going for, and they weakened a division opponent. So this was a win-win-win. Well done, New England, and I kind of hate it.
As usual. Well, what's interesting about this is there is so much running back talent just kind of flying around right now. You got the draft coming up with more running back talent. You got all these talented veterans just kind of floating in space here. If any team can't run the ball this year for lack of talent in backfield, it's their own fault. Because my gosh, there's guys out there right now to be had that. Mark Ingram could possibly be traded because he'd be on. Lewis possibly get traded. He'd be the odd man out, possibly, go somewhere. LeGarrette Blount's still out there, just kind of flapping in the wind. Jamal Charles is still out there. It's amazing the amount of talent that's just sitting there.
Yes, but New England just got a running back that averaged 5.7 yards per carry last season for a 5th-round pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
So
they've also got like 4 or 5 running backs now. What do they got? 4?
They've got 3 that are definitely of note, and they've got 4 of note, but one of them, Deion Lewis, we all expect them to probably cut now because they'll save money on that. As we've talked about many times, very, very low guaranteed money, only about a $200,000 cap hit. So they're going to save money there. They're going to save money on not re-signing LeGarrette Blount because Mike Gillislee will come in and be that guy. Not quite as big, not quite as downhill as LeGarrette Blount, but he will definitely fill that role. Rex Burkhead is going to be the variation back who can run and pass catch. Of course, they got James White as the pass catching back out of the backfield. So they've got their weapons. And then a couple other lesser known guys who are probably camp bodies who could be practice squad guys in case one of these guys get hurt. But I mean, New England's stacked. They're stacking up. They're trying to make a run at this dynasty. They don't have a pick in the first 2 rounds. So I guess they're just doing what they can now. And
apparently don't need it.
Look, all you need to do to make it into the playoffs is win your division. You just effectively weakened one of your division rivals. So, well done, New England. Ugh. All right, moving on. Wide receiver news. Atlanta has re-signed Taylor Gabriel to a 1-year, $2.81 million contract. Guys, thoughts on this move?
I like
Good move.
Good pick.
It's a lot of analysis.
He's dynamic.
There.
He's awesome.
And it's nice.
He's getting better. I like it.
It's good in the offense. I mean, that's the offense coordinator just came in there. It's going to be interesting to see how he's going to use him. He probably, his first year in there, he's not going to ruffle too many feathers. He's going to take what Shanahan did with him and utilize that and then, implement his scheme slowly but surely.
I mean, look, Taylor Gabriel, he really did shine last year when given the opportunity, when people were hurt in front of him. Played in 13 games, 35 receptions, so not incredible amount of receptions, but he turned those 35 catches into 579 yards and 6 touchdowns. So, I mean, definitely a weapon, definitely usable. He's the 3rd guy there, but he's effective. So, Atlanta trying to hold its core together as they lost, obviously, their offensive coordinator. So, I mean, I can't see this as bad news. It's definitely good for Atlanta. Mm-hmm. They need some consistency. Mm-hmm. No tight end news and little bit of other news. New Orleans and Malcolm Butler reportedly have a multi-year deal that they have both agreed to. Now, this is pending a trade, and the trade appears, quote, unlikely from all sides. Apparently, both sides cannot agree on what the value of Malcolm Butler should be for the trade itself. So, Malcolm Butler in New Orleans sounds good because they need all the help on defense they can get, but it looks like New Orleans and New England have very different values in mind for the trade. So, I'm guessing that New England wants probably the early first-round pick for New Orleans, and New Orleans doesn't want to give that up. So, I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts here?
Yeah, I wouldn't give that up for Malcolm Butler. I mean, Malcolm Butler's good, but he's not your first round pick good. I don't think. I mean, maybe second round. So yeah, I don't think it happens unless New Orleans, because New England doesn't have to do anything. New England just says, first round. I want your first round pick. Take the first round pick.
And New Orleans is going to have a shot at a top-tier corner. What are they at? 11, I think they are, 11 or 12, and 11.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Marshawn Lattimore might still be there. Marlon Humphrey is probably going to be there still. There's a lot of really, really, really good defensive backs in this. I mean, they could wait till the second round and pick somebody up who could be a starter this year. So and who could be an upgrade at what they've got.
And Malcolm Butler is a known commodity, but you're going to have to pay the guy where you could take a shot at 11 at one of these top-tier corners who could be just as good, maybe even better than Butler, and you have him for 4 to 5 years on the cheap. So, yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
You know what? They've got two picks in the first round. I mean, they got the last pick in the first round.
11
so
and 32.
They could take. Exactly, and some of the mock drafts I've been seeing, they take the cornerback in both picks.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So they could, they could, and they do. They need to upgrade that defense very, very badly. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that happen.
Well, by all accounts, that's why they traded Brandon Cooks for New England's number 32 pick, because they wanted more picks in the first round. They wanted to get some of that top tier defense. Go ahead, CJ. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I know. You're good. I was just saying, if I think New Orleans, if Patriots would have put like a second round or a third round tender on them, I think they would have jumped on all over that. instead of options. I mean, I think they really want to go after him because he's still young, but yet he's a veteran. He's proven cornerback in the league. So to be able to pair that up with a rookie, I think that is what entices them on trying to get him. But once again, the price is just way too much. I like what both of you guys were saying. Basically just go defense those first 3 picks, man. You guys will be fine. They'll be fine. Going cornerback, get some young blood in there, and just build from that youth.
The one thing that I do want to point out, though, Malcolm Butler's not as young as we're giving him credit for. He's got 3 years in the league, but he came into the league late. He's 27 years old already. So I think that's part of the concern. And most people would contest that he is a top-tier corner. I'm not among them. I think he's definitely upper echelon, but I wouldn't put him among the league's elite. So, yeah, I get what you guys are saying. I would say probably top 10, but definitely not top 5. I don't know. Maybe
you have to remember that when you're talking about New England, anybody that you talk about with New England, that coaching staff, they know how to use their system to get the best out of every single player.
Oh yeah.
So he looks really, really good where he is right now. If you move him to another team, he may not look that good. So I agree with Griffin on this.
And New England has never been necessarily an elite defense, but they've always been an opportunistic defense. They jump plays. Obviously, this all comes from the film study, and like you said, the coaching staff drilling in what to look for, what to execute, what to do. And, of course, we all know a prime example of that, Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. So, I mean, what are you going to do? We'll see if this happens. This could be a day of the draft type move. There's a lot of guys who have been linked to it, an abnormally large amount, I feel, compared to previous years. So definitely something to keep our eyes on. We'll move on. Former number 1 overall pick, Jake Long, has decided to call it a career. Do you guys have any thoughts on this? A guy who's was all pro for a couple seasons there at tackle. I can't talk, at the tackle position, but he has not played a full season since 2010. Injuries really derailed his career. So,
yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah.
It is.
Seeing him moving around, it kind of brings the value down when you talk about Hall of Fame and stuff like that. It's tough to see.
I don't know. He doesn't have a shot at the Hall of Fame. I don't think so.
Yeah, he won't go in there.
He hasn't played a full season since 2010. So, I mean, Dolphins, then Rams, then Falcons, then obviously Vikings last year, and now calling it. He only played 4 games last year. So, all right, it's sad to see a guy who was crazy talented, but was never really able to keep that career going once he actually got it in motion. So, all right.
It's just so rare, man, because you see him, and then you look like a guy like Joe Thomas, and that dude was just Mr. Consistent, Mr. Reliable. And it's just, you got those very special players at those positions that, can just stay healthy, and do that thing.
All right, so with that, we'll move into a review. Hey, we got an iTunes review, and we always like to give shout-outs to people who write in. Do one of you guys want to read this? Or you want me to do it? We probably should have talked about this before the show.
Let me hear Jason. I think Jason's Spanish voice will just roll off.
His Spanish voice. Wow.
I'm not Spanish, you punk. All right. This is from eYoung215. 3 completely different personalities that work well together. That's debatable. They do a really great job of giving advice for different leagues. I'm supposed to be leagues. I've listened to plenty of podcasts.
I immediately regretted this decision.
Shut your mouth. I've listened to plenty of podcasts that become dry in the off season, but these guys find a way to make it worth listening. I have found my podcast on the way to work.
Yay.
Thanks a lot, E. Young. That's awesome.
Thank you, E. Young. I hope you enjoy the shout out. We appreciate you.
Yeah. E. Young, all I say is this: don't limit us, man. Just with the ride home. Do the shower, buddy. Washing dishes, mowing the yard, going to the gym. Don't limit us, man. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, to be fair, this time of year we only have 2 to 3 podcasts, so if they're on Patreon as well. So there's only so much. I don't know. Maybe he has a long drive to work, so he kills the whole podcast in one go. Who knows?
He's just never happy. He always wants to excel. He just wants to do better.
It's called upselling in the biz. You know what I'm saying?
It is. So basically, we need to start putting out more content, according to CJ. So, all right, we'll keep that in mind. But yeah, we appreciate the shout out.
Read our articles, Young. Read the articles.
The articles are nice.
That's true. We got those. Yeah. So,
ants, monkeys.
Wow. With that, we'll move on to our topic of the day, which is kind of a broad topic. We didn't necessarily have one thing we wanted to nail down because there's a lot of things to get to, and only a couple days till the draft. So this is our pre-draft final thoughts. So there's a couple things we wanted to talk about today. We've got some post-day one players to keep an eye on for both, real life and fantasy purposes. We have some bold predictions. We're looking at what the averages. We looked around the whole interwebs and found what the averages are for the top 10 picks, so you can kind of get an idea of the way the draft is kind of shaking out. So I'll throw it to you guys. What do you guys want to start with? Do you want to work our way down what we have on our list? Do you want to start in one area? What do you want to do?
I'd rather
Let's
go
just work down the list.
Yeah, I like
there you
that.
go.
Look at that.
We like lists. We're list people.
The list of Griffin.
The list of, what does that even mean? All right.
Read it off, man.
We'll
You know what happens when you don't have a consensus pick? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have just no words.
If you were a fan of wrestling, you know what's happening.
You would know.
Anyway,
You would know what's going on.
we are going to move into talking about the mock draft averages. Now, this is the top 10. This is from various resources, from NFL.com through all the various other fantasy websites, and you name it. So, ESPN and everything. And we'll start with number 1 overall. All the minds agree to our previous conversation that Cleveland, at number 1, should be taking defensive end Myles Garrett from Texas A&M. As a show, we agree with this, correct?
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
We all
and
agree.
Hey, you know what?
It works.
I don't always say listen to the experts. I don't always say listen to the mock drafters, because a lot of times they're wrong, and that's true. But literally every single person just knows this is the number 1 pick, and that tells you something.
Mm-hmm. It would be a very Cleveland-esque thing, though, to not do it.
Yeah.
That's all
I
I'm
mean,
saying.
I wouldn't wish going to Cleveland to anybody. I mean, I do like the new regime.
Sorry,
but,
Cleveland.
I mean, well, you know what it is. You got to get rid of that sauce you got, man.
Anyway.
That baseball mind doesn't work in football.
Yeah. It's true.
You just love saying Sashi.
He's a game
all it
changer.
is.
He's an
Sashi!
Sasha Brown. He is a game changer. This guy is going to mold that defense through not only his play, but his attitude into a very dangerous, feral defense there. And they're going to be ears pinned back type of guys. So this is the guy they need to take to change the culture in Cleveland.
Oh, absolutely.
So those guys get fly balls and everything.
He's been linked as, a top-tier prospect, both, on the field and off the field, personality-wise, great locker room presence. I mean, he's the total package, and if Cleveland doesn't grab him, he's not getting past number 2. At number 2, though, with Myles Garrett off the board, San Francisco is, on average, the consensus that they will be drafting defensive end Solomon Thomas from Stanford. What are your guys' thoughts here? Is that a good fit? I think so. They need talent, and this is, again, one of the most talented guys in this year's draft.
I mean, I actually like them to go Jamal Adams there. I think Jamal Adams would be a great addition to that secondary. He's very versatile. He can come down. He's kind of built, and his play style is like the Honey Badger out of the Cardinals, Arizona. Yeah, you know what I mean. I like him better, but I can see Thomas being a pick there for them too. Even though I like Adams better.
Well, they need help. Remember, the one thing that they were historically bad at last year, the worst team in basically league history at stopping the run, and this guy will go a long way in fixing that problem and pressuring the quarterback, therefore helping in the pass game. So I really like the move of Solomon Thomas personally. Go ahead, Jason.
No, I agree with you. I think, I like Jamal Adams too, CJ. I really, really like Jamal Adams. I think he's going to go in the top 10 somewhere, and he should. I mean, it's rare to find a safety with that kind of upside. Malik Hooker, same deal. I mean, he's awesome too. But Solomon Thomas is kind of what you need to take yourself to the next level as a defensive end. He's going to get to the quarterback, and that's kind of you got to have that pressure from your front four. So I think this is a good pick for them. I've also seen a lot of people saying that San Francisco trades down to get more picks because they just need tons of talent, and I could totally see that happening.
I honestly would be probably more surprised if they didn't trade down, but I mean, I would agree if they were to pick anyone, it would be Solomon Thomas. Though I've seen them linked to a lot of other players. I've seen Mitchell Trubisky going here at number 2, which is like maybe why Cleveland's freaking out. I've seen obviously Marshawn Lattimore, most people's consensus top cornerback. I've seen Leonard Fournette being listed
today.
There you go, Leonard Fournette. Just saying, going there. So the thing is, all these mock drafts, they mean nothing. once the draft actually happens, one trade's going to happen and throw all of this off that nobody saw coming. But that's why we're talking consensus, and consensus is Solomon Thomas, and we agree that is one of the best quick fixes to that desperately needing of talent team, especially on the defensive side. All right, so we'll move on. Number 3, Chicago. They are linked to taking cornerback Marshawn Lattimore from Ohio State. So, I mean, we just talked about this guy. Most people believe the consensus top corner, and a lot of people have him linked to Chicago. So, what are you guys' thoughts here?
I mean, he's a great prospect, great talent. Love him at the he's basically the top cornerback in this draft. So I once again
said that.
I don't like the fit. I don't like the fit there, man. I don't like the fit in Chicago.
Go ahead and peeling back the curtain a little bit. We're going to be doing our own mock draft on the Patreon show, but who would you like to see there at 3 then, if you don't like Marshawn Lattimore?
Even though it's probably not a good thing there because the people that's going to be throwing him the ball, but I like Mike Williams in Chicago, man, to be honest.
They have so many wide receivers. They need an elite wide receiver.
They need it though. Listen, that they got a jobber squad there that they basically went and got in free agency. You need to get a true number 1 receiver out there. Listen, your guy
that could still be Kevin White.
Kevin White is not the thing there. He's not the thing. You've given this dude what? He didn't play the first year because he was injured. Second year he came out. He kept falling down every route that he does. That's not a thing.
We got hurt last year too.
Get a receiver that's going to go and do something that you can throw up. That's going to do the thing, do his thing there. And I think Mike Williams will be that guy for them. And I like him there better than what we're going to say later on where he's going.
I like Mike Williams as a possibility for Chicago. I mean, that's not a bad thought. I think they'd be more apt to take Corey Davis. Honestly, though, I think he's a better receiver.
We all do.
But actually,
our show consensus.
Yeah. Actually, if it's me and I'm Chicago in this position, I take Reuben Foster. And the reason I take Reuben Foster is because
that's way too high.
Chicago used to be known for their just baring their teeth defense. A defense that was just scary and dangerous. They're really not anymore. I'd go get this guy as my centerpiece to my new defense. And, kind of that upgrades the defense almost immediately, in my opinion. As much as I hate to say that, because I'm hoping Foster falls to 13, so Arizona will take him, I see him as a nice fit. Yeah, selfishly, yes. I see him as a nice fit for Chicago.
Yeah, I'll tell you a narrative that I read a rather in-depth article on, which really kind of caught my eye, and that was, what are your thoughts on Chicago taking either Michael Trubisky or Deshaun Watson there? Mitchell Trubisky. Sorry.
Watson. I like Watson.
I've heard a lot of narrative behind this because, as we all know, they signed Mike Glennon, which I was very against, especially for the amount that they spent. But, hey, the going price for a open market quarterback is what it is, even if he's not necessarily the most proven commodity. But, as we talked about when this happened back at the beginning of free agency, it's really... Yeah, he signed a 3-year deal for $45 million, but it's really a 1-year deal because after the first year, they have a potential out where it's only going to be about $4.5 million dead cap. He has no guaranteed money past the first year. So it's a prove-it deal, and if he ends up failing, then they've got another guy who we've all heard and we've all talked about. Go back and listen to our shows rather in depth about all these quarterbacks, these rookies. They really are developmental guys. They need a year or two to sit, develop, adjust to the pro level, all these other things, learn the systems, all make the adjustments, all that stuff. They have that opportunity to do it. So the front offices covers itself, and Mike Glennon could be that band-aid, or if it all works out, you have this other guy in the wings who will continue to develop, and then maybe he's trade bait, or maybe he takes over in the long run and maybe takes the job if he turns out to be that much better. So I read this article, and I think the initial reaction was to kind of dismiss it, but the more I read about it, the more I thought about it, I was like, that's actually, I really like it there. Now, the team, of course, is in desperate need of talent at many other positions. But, I mean, we all know that the offense runs through the quarterback, arguably the most important position on your team, definitely the hardest to fill. So, I mean, it's an option. It could be a very interesting take, and it could work out. It could pay dividends. So, what do you guys' thoughts on that?
That took you forever to explain.
I like to cover everything. I want to make sure I get the point
across. I like it, Griffin. It was very detailed.
Thank you, CJ.
That was extremely detailed. Here's why that's not going to be a thing.
I don't think it will either, but I'm just saying it's interesting.
No, but here's let me explain why, though. Here's why. First off, like you said, these guys are in desperate need of tons of talent. They just need a talent infusion. I can see them, if they're going to take the quarterback this year, I can see them trading back, getting more picks, and taking a quarterback. But I don't see them taking that at number 3. That's one. And the other reason is, if you're going to do that, you don't want your new young rookie quarterback sitting behind an unproven quarterback. Okay, he's going to sit back there and he's going to watch someone who we don't know if they're going to be good or not. You know, so if they're going to take a quarterback, I think they wait until next year. You know, after the boom bust, if it's a bust, then they take one of those guys that's coming out in the draft next year who's going to be starter ready. You know, I think that makes more sense than picking somebody up to sit behind a possibly bad quarterback and watch bad quarterback play, you know, for an entire year. I think they wait and they pick someone up who's more ready to start now.
I mean, but this gives them a chance that if it doesn't work out with Mike Glennon, then they've got that option right there. Who's had his year to develop
an option
and adjust.
Of a quarterback who's not developed, who's not going to be developed after a year, sitting behind someone who necessarily isn't going to be ready. You know, so if they're going to do something, they're going to go get themselves a vet. Who do they have as the backup now? I don't remember. I think didn't they sign a backup?
They did, but I don't remember who.
Barkley went to Frisco, right. So I don't know who's the back over.
Yeah, there's some guys still out there. I think rather than that, they're going to wait till after the draft, and when these teams that pick up quarterbacks, when they drop their backup quarterbacks, they're going to wait for one of those vets to hit, grab them, have him sit behind, and do that. And then, like I said, next year, if it's a bust, then they'll go get one of these guys coming out in the draft that's going to be, more starter ready.
I mean, the thing is, it's a narrative either way. It could go either way, and it all depends on their thought process. And again, I don't necessarily believe that they're going to do this. I'm just saying that it would be interesting, and I would understand the reasoning behind it, whether you agree with it or not. That goes to everybody. So, but we'll move on. It's just various takes, and this is, I'm sure, stuff that we will argue and debate about as we get into our Patreon show. So we'll move on. Our first offensive player off the board in these consensus mock drafts is to Jacksonville at number 4, drafting running back, CJ's going to love it, Leonard Fournette from LSU. So I know that both you and I think that this would work out pretty well, Jason. CJ, you are in the opposite field. Why don't you weigh in very quickly?
I'm on the opposite field because I think it's a waste. I think it's a waste because you already have 2 backs there that you've put incredible amount of resources into that.
One's
I still
on a rookie
think
contract.
One is on a rookie contract, but you still brought in a guy that's supposed to be this thumper that you want. That's Fournette is. Granted, Fournette is younger
and
but
better.
But this is a guy you still brought in a year ago, and he has this contract.
CJ, teams make mistakes all the time. Look at Brock Osweiler last year.
No. Well, listen, Jacksonville is not going to be pulling no foolishness like that and go get they're not going to be lucked up and get a 3rd-round pick for Ivory out of this situation. Nobody wants this dude. You're going to have to play with this dude. Instead of going to get Fournette, why don't you get a O.J. Howard and replace that tight end you just lost to Miami and let that be your pick there? And that's better fit for your offense. You don't have an offense that's just going to be a one-back system where he's going to be doing this thing. You tried that. Then you brought in multiple backs. You don't basically, in the running back position, you don't know what you want to do there. And you don't have a good running game to have with to start. So why would you waste Fournette's talents there where you don't even have an offensive line that can be able to run block to be able to get him yards so he can be able to do his thing? That's a waste. Stick with what your offense is, your pass-first offense. Get a pass threat, O.J. Howard, to add to that offense. That will be a better fit, and your offense runs smoother.
Here's the problem with that line of thinking, in my opinion, CJ, is that you're saying because they got two running backs there that they don't necessarily think are very good, they should just go with that. Well, no, if you have an opportunity to improve your position
drastically,
and Leonard Fournette is is far and away pretty much the best offensive weapon in this draft. More, arguably, you do that. You upgrade. You say, hey, you know what? When's the next time we're going to be at number 4? When's the next time we're going to be in the top 5? Grab this guy now with all this talent. And you try to trade Ivory, or you release him, or do something like that. But bottom line is, upgrade your position. That's what the draft is for. The draft is not for, I have a hole here I need to fill. It's for upgrading talent on your team overall. So I think that they would rather upgrade their running back talent and try to figure out what to do with those other guys they got. But this guy's better. And like Griffin already said, Leonard Fournette is better. He's younger and a better back. So I think that they would do that for sure.
It just gives them that running option that they would have to respect, which would help open up their passing game, which they use a lot. Now, I agree, O.J. Howard would be a great fit as well, but I think that in the grand scheme of things, they're going to go probably Leonard Fournette. If they draft here at all, they might be another team that trades, or they could go in a completely different direction. Jacksonville was one of the first really wild card teams where there was not a ton of consensus, but the one common theme was Leonard Fournette. With that, we'll move on to number 5, Tennessee.
And honestly, I'm sorry, Griffin. I was just saying, I have seen a lot of drafts recently with O.J. Howard going to Jacksonville. So it is a possibility that could happen.
I mean, they lost Julius Thomas, and they could pick up a guy in a draft who's being compared to Julius Thomas. So, hey, there you go. Number 5, Tennessee is linked to drafting wide receiver Mike Williams from Clemson. So what are our thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, that's a decent pickup for them. Big-bodied wide receiver. Someone to go down the field to, someone who's going to be dangerous in the red zone. I can see that.
It's going to be a great addition to the wide receiving core. I like how they're basically stacking it up. They got Rashad Matthews as their inside-out guy that can play outside. You got I'm trying to remember the last kid they drafted last year. Whatever his name is. I'm sorry. Then you have Mike Williams. I think that'll be a nice trio of receivers there.
I have a problem seeing Mike Williams go before Corey Davis, though. I just think Corey Davis is a better receiver.
Tajay Sharp, that's his name.
Tajay Sharp, yeah.
I thought that's who you meant, but I wasn't sure. Okay.
I mean, if Corey Davis is sitting there and Mike Williams is sitting there, and I'm a GM, I go with Corey Davis. He's faster. He's a better receiver in my opinion. He's more polished.
Well, we all agree that Corey Davis.
My bad.
No, you're fine.
I think he might have a better relationship and with Mariota than Williams too, Corey Davis.
Well, we all as a show here, we agree that Corey Davis is the top talent. The problem is that they're trying to go risk mitigation. Corey Davis has not been able to work out because he hurt himself in January, so they're basing all of their measurables, which of course is what some teams draft almost completely off of. It seems like sometimes a lot of them are based on estimates. So they know what they're getting in Mike Williams. They know he's a taller guy who is going to be that red zone threat. And though I think the Titans definitely need speed, so I think Corey Davis might be a better option. I think that Mike Williams they feel is safer, and it still fills their need pretty extensively because they still feel like they need that sure elite number 1 guy, which Mike Williams could totally be.
Right.
So I don't hate the pick. I've also seen them linked to O.J. Howard as well. So again, a big body red zone threat type thing. So and a faster guy. So definitely looks like pass catcher though for the Titans. They want to continue to surround Marcus Mariota with weapons. So we'll move on. Number 6 was the New York Jets, and just to further kind of show off how crazy the Jets are, I could find literally no consensus. I looked in dozens of places, and basically everyone had a different take. So the Jets are going to be our first real wild card choke point. Like anything could happen here. I don't know if they're going to go best player available, if they're going to go for one of their various needs. A lot of people are saying that they might go wide receiver and cut Eric Decker to save further money. They've been linked to quarterbacks because, obviously they need somebody there. And they've drafted a lot of quarterbacks, so they don't seem very high on. So the Jets are really a crazy wild card team at number 6. So it'll be interesting to see what we decide on as we do our draft later. We'll move on to number 7, San Diego Chargers, drafting safety Malik Hooker from Ohio State. So thoughts on this?
Big time talent. I mean, that's a nice talent to add to your defense and give you a little bit of pass protection, a little bit of power. I like that. It's a good pick for San Diego.
I think it's a great addition to that defense. They need it. I like how they're adding these young players in there as far as like free agency they've been doing, and I like this pick too.
They've also been linked to Jamal Adams, so it looks like they're definitely going safety.
That would even be even better.
You just really like Jamal Adams.
Jamal Adams is a beast, man. He's gonna be a stud this year, dude.
He's gonna be good, man. He's gonna be good. I like him.
I don't dispute that at all. I completely agree. So, I mean, I guess what else is there to say? Very, very, very talented safety. Arguably one of the two, if not the top safety in the class. All right. Carolina at number 8 are linked to drafting running back Christian McCaffrey from Stanford. We all know that they definitely would like a Leonard Fournette, but I think Christian McCaffrey could still excel in Carolina. Most people are saying that on a pure talent and versatility scale, he's the best running back in this class, at least out of the ones that are going to be taken early. Joe Mixon is usually considered the top tier guy, but off the field issues are going to push him down draft board. So Christian McCaffrey, number 8 to Carolina. Thoughts?
I like.
Doesn't make sense.
What you do? You don't make sense. What?
They're when they run the ball, they're a power run team. They love to hand the ball to their big back and let him smash into the line. McCaffrey is not that kind of guy. He's not a between the tackles thumper. He is a slasher, and he's very good. He could add a very nice dynamic to them. But honestly, I think for fantasy purposes, it would kind of suck because when they get down into the red zone, I think that the quarterback is going to poach some of those touchdowns away from Christian McCaffrey. So I kind of hope this doesn't happen. I hope they go up and they get themselves a Leonard Fournette. Like I hope they trade. This is one of the trades that I see happening. Is Carolina trading with Jacksonville to go get Leonard Fournette.
Though I agree with you completely, Jason, I will say that if you look at the trends, Cam Newton has been trending downwards from poaching those touchdowns, though I think a lot of that links to last year dealing with the concussions and the injuries more than anything. So I don't necessarily believe that trend is necessarily what we're going to see moving forward.
I think this. I'm sorry, Griffin.
No,
I think this would be a great Jenga piece for Riverboat Ron. I mean, if they get this kid, can you imagine an offense with these two in it, man? I mean, if you thought Jonathan Stewart and Cam was dangerous, now you got McCaffrey and Cam. Oh my goodness, I think there's so many places, and he's so versatile. You can use him in so many places in the offense. I think this is going to be a steal and a great fit if Carolina can be able to get him there, man.
I actually think this might be again, I like McCaffrey, and I think he's going to do well anywhere because he's just a really good football player and a really good athlete. But what opens up the pass? Okay, bottom line here is Carolina does not have a good pocket passer as a quarterback. He's a good quarterback. He's not a good pocket passer. What opens up that passing for him is that power run game, being able to keep the defense honest. They have to stack the box and worry about Jonathan Stewart. You bring in a Christian McCaffrey, they're not going to try to go between the tackles with him. So it kind of gets rid of that dynamic, and they can come after him, and that could cause a problem. So I don't know. It just seems like a weird pick to me.
Weird pick. It could go either way. I think that he would work there. I think he would work better elsewhere, but I believe, and everybody's linking Carolina to a running back. Jonathan Stewart's getting up there in age. So, I mean, Christian McCaffrey, I think he would definitely work there, bottom line. Though we think that they want that north-south runner in Leonard Fournette. I don't know if it's going to happen without them making a move. I just don't see him being available.
They'll have to move.
They will.
Yeah, no, they'll have to move.
All right, moving on. Last couple guys. Number 9, Cincinnati Bengals drafting defensive end Jonathan Allen from Alabama. Thoughts on this real fast?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the better defensive players in the draft. I actually see him going a bit higher than 9.
I've seen him go higher.
I've seen him go much higher. I've seen him go number 3. So this would be a good pick for them. It would be good, really good talent added to their team. I think it's a good pick.
I agree with Jason. He nailed it. I mean, I gotta agree with him.
I mean, he's an all-purpose defensive end. He can do it all. Cincinnati needs help They've become relatively depleted as of late, so it could definitely be a good fit for them. And then number 10, Buffalo, another team that there's seemingly no real consensus on. I think a lot of the narratives that we've heard was that they really needed help at the wide receiver position because behind Sammy Watkins, they don't really have much. Well, they just lost their backup running back as well. So this could easily bump up, I don't know if we see 3 running backs go in the top 10, but yeah, definitely adds value to Dalvin Cook. They've been linked to needs across the defensive side as well. Obviously, they lost, why am I blanking?
Stephon Gilmore.
Gilmore, thank you. They lost Gilmore to also New England. Man, New England is poaching Buffalo. So they need help on the defensive side. They need help on the offensive side. Buffalo, they've had a rough start to the offseason. I mean, obviously with all from the head coach on down, people leaving that organization. So they need some help.
Thanks, Rex.
Rex and Rob. So, yeah.
And Rob.
Another interesting choke point, which is going to affect all the other teams that draft behind them. So that's the consensus top 10. Technically, we only named 8 guys, but it just gets interesting from there. So things to look for, and this exercise could have been all for nothing because by the first pick, this whole thing could have been thrown off by Cleveland making a silly decision. So, but interesting. Mm-hmm. We like the fits of a lot of these guys, but of course, some will move up and some will move down, and trades will happen. So we'll see how it all plays out. With that, let's talk a little bit about our post-day 1 players to keep an eye on for fantasy purposes. Now, if you listen to our last 4 previous shows where we broke down the fantasy-relevant positions for standard leagues, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, I've already talked about these guys in great length, so we're not going to go too far into it, but we are going to mention the players so you know who to look out for. And these are guys widely projected as usually upper echelon talent. I think we're going with mostly day 2 guys here, but guys who are not quite in day 1, obviously. Not quite the elite, but they're close to it. I mean, you look at players that are taken in day 2 in years past, and a lot of them are big contributors, and I think a lot of these guys are going to be in the same mold. Does anyone want to go first?
Jason, how about you, man?
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm going to start with the running back I have on my list here, Dante Foreman. Dante Foreman is a pretty good size back, 6 feet, 233. Really good balance. I really like watching this guy run. He's got loose hips. He's rather elusive for his size. Overall, he's a very quick back for his size. A little problem with he kind of seems to avoid contact a bit more than you would think, being that he's 230 something. He should be slamming into people, but he chooses to kind of use finesse more than anything else. But I kind of see sort of the same kind of complaints about David Johnson when David Johnson was in the draft. People said the same exact thing. Well, he doesn't hit people as much. We don't know if he's got the power. This is a big dude, and he's fast. He runs a 4.5. Again, not the fastest guy, and that's why he's not going to go until day 2 or 3. But I definitely think he's a quality back, and wherever he goes, he's going to be a nice contributor from day 1.
Yep. I'll go next. Mine, I'll start with a guy that we mentioned previously as what most analysts would say is the actual top-tier talent at the running back position, but due to all the off-field issues, he is definitely going to be falling in the draft. Recent news might even push him to day 3. But whatever team takes this guy, they're going to be getting a serious contributor to their team, and that is Joe Mixon. I mean, Joe Mixon does it all. He's a big, powerful back. He's got vision. He's extremely fast. He's elusive. He's really good balance. He has patience when he needs it. And he's just one of those physical backs who can also be very fluid catching the ball out of the backfield. He does it all. He is, people argue that he has all the strengths of a Christian McCaffrey and all the power of a Leonard Fournette. So, off-the-field issues are really the only thing that's driving this guy down. He would easily be a top 5 talent if it was not for all of that. So whenever this guy gets picked, keep your eye on him because he could be a guy who easily wins the starting job depending on where he goes and therefore be an immediate day 1 sleeper contributor to your fantasy team.
Come on, Eagles. So my guy is Zay Jones. Zay Jones, man, he is really good. Jason loves this kid. I just had to mention him, and shout out to Jason, man, for put him on the scene for this show. But this kid is great, man. I like him. I liked him in the Shrine game, man. He really showed heart. He showed that he was the number one receiver on that squad and on the field, basically. This kid in the next level, he's going to be a great number 2 receiver. I think if he goes to the right team, that he can be used like Matavis Bryant, like with the Pittsburgh, man. I think this guy could be the Sterling Shepard of this season, man, if he's in the right system.
Come on, Cardinals. All right, so
everybody's
all right,
very
so
self-centered.
I love that kid, man. He's in my just for you guys if you haven't read my my article yet. He's in my article as my sleeper pick. So yeah, I definitely love me some Zay Jones.
Yep.
My wide receiver is Juju Smith-Schuster. First of all, he's got a really cool name. Just fun to say. Yeah, his name's actually John, but I'm still going to call him Juju. 6'1", 215 pounds. He's not the fastest guy in the world, 4.54 40, which I mean, isn't slow, but it's definitely not when you're looking at like a John Ross and guys like that are running sub 4.3s. However, he's just a very physical back. He's a big guy. He plays even bigger than he is, really. Good hands. He's aware of where the ball is. He comes back and helps his quarterback. I really like this guy. I think he's going to be a solid contributor wherever he goes.
All right. Since you guys are throwing out wide receivers, I'll throw out one, and that's Chris Godwin. This is a guy who if you listen to our show talking about this, I have him. Of course, we know the top 3. Who's making noise in the background? We know that he is one of the top 3. Okay, there are 3 elite wide receivers in this draft class. Everybody agrees that is, of course, Mike Williams, Corey Davis, John Ross. I put this guy as the guy right below them. I think he's better than the entire next tier. He's just ridiculous. He's crazy fast, elite ball skills. He did great with all of his measurables and the drills. He's good at high pointing. He's got the size and the speed to make it all work at all levels of the field. I mean, he just does it all. And I think that wherever he goes, especially if it's to a pass-happy team or a place that really needs a number 1 receiver, I think that he could make that step to the pro level and become that number 1 and definitely a very elite, for fantasy purposes, number 2 wide receiver. So keep your eye on Chris Godwin. He's a guy who I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on, but I'm very high on.
I got you, man. And you know what? I'm gonna jump to the defense on this one, man. I'm gonna say Desmond King, man. He's a
for
guy
the IDP players out there.
IDP players out there. Desmond King's a guy to look out for, man. I like him. He's great as a slot corner, man. And the next level, I hear a lot of people saying that he might be able to play safety, and that's good, man, because he has great ball skills, man. His speed is a little questionable, man, but for some reason he always finds to be at the right place at the right time when it comes to the ball. Good tackler, man. It's a guy that you need to look out for, and he gets to the right system, maybe like a Pittsburgh Steelers. They're defensive back needy team, and they're opportunistic. I'm sorry. When it comes to the secondary, so that is, I think, will be a good fit and a guy that you should look out for.
Yep. I'm gonna go over to the defensive side too. I mean, guys, this draft is loaded with defensive talent. I mean, this is just a defense-heavy draft. So, Obi Melifonwu. I think I said that right. Obi Melifonwu.
You did.
Yeah. He's a safety, and he's 6'4", guys. 6'4". The dude is massive. He's also pretty fast. 4.4 40. I mean, that's crazy. The guy's a genetic freak. All right. I cannot wait to see him land somewhere and just wreak havoc all over the field. Imagine having a 6'4" safety. You got to throw the ball down the field, and his arms are just everywhere. He's got a ridiculous vertical leap. He's just a real physical guy, and I cannot wait to see where he goes because I'm going to be watching this kid all year.
Fair enough. I'll do my last offensive guy just to stay in that mindset before I jump to my IDP player. And we got to wrap this up, so we're going to speed it up a little bit. Mine is Evan Ingram, tight end. Now, there are 2 guys who are widely considered the top 2 that are going to be day 1 guys. Evan Ingram, based on his combine performance, is a guy who got himself into that day 1 conversation. I mean, it's possible he will go. Depends on how many teams later in the draft are looking at the tight end position. But if not, he'll probably be going pretty high in the second round. And and where he might not have necessarily the same size and weight that some of the other tight ends have, he makes up for that in his athleticism, and he is crazy fast for a tight end. He ran a 4.42 40, and he has really good hands. He's been able to be effective at all levels of the field, and he's been linked to the fact that because of his speed and his ball skills, he's going to probably demand defensive back coverage, which will help open up the rest of the field. Of course, the big knocks against him are he doesn't have the size. I mean, the measurables were what got him on everyone's radar, and also what's kind of hurting his value because of his height, weight, those variables. But I mean, the guy's very, very good. He's a playmaker. He's a good blocker, and I expect him to be therefore on the field quite a bit and have the potential to be a contributor in his first year. Though, as we all know, grain of salt, because the tight ends as a whole tend to not necessarily translate in their rookie years. But I mean, if there was going to be 3 tight ends, he would be that third guy for sure this year.
All right, well, my guy Jason, help me out with this name if I butcher it. All right, Semier Perman, right?
Where are you looking? Oh,
I'm not even looking.
It's Semjay Perine.
Perine, there you go. I'm sorry, I butchered it. I'm sorry, but this guy is awesome, man. He is when I watch this tape, man, he is a bowling ball, man. He reminds me of MJD when he plays, man. Very brutal strength, man. Good enough speed. A true workhorse back, man. That if he goes to the right offense, man, that he's gonna be some good things for you, man. And especially you get compared to MJD, man. You saw that history with him. So MJD, Hall of Fame talent. He's gonna get there. But yeah, man, I like him. He goes to the right system. I think it'll be good, and then you can get some fantasy value out of him.
All right, we are out of time, so let's do our final guys real fast, get to our bold predictions, and sign off. Jason, you're up.
All right. Final go. Oh, I've got 2. Raekwon McMillan, linebacker. He's fast, very good sideline-to-sideline player. He's a solid linebacker. Anywhere he goes, he's going to be a nice contributor to a defense. And then my last one is Sidney Jones. If Sidney Jones had not torn his Achilles, I think he would be in the conversation for being one of the best cornerbacks in this draft. So he, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to watch him this year because he's probably out for the entire year. But when he does contribute, he's going to become a lockdown corner in this league.
All right. My IDP option, because we love IDP and we got to throw those guys out, is one TJ Watt, younger brother of one JJ Watt. So, I mean, imagine JJ, and I'll put him in a younger linebacker. And this guy, he's been compared to a Paul Kruger. He put out great tape last year, and he kind of does it all. He's great at the run stuffing. He's got a motor. He just keeps on going. Not necessarily the fastest guy, which is what really pushes him down into day 2, though some people are saying he might inch his way up to day 1 as well. But, I mean, he's going to be used pretty heavily for rushing the quarterback, pressuring, and of course stopping the run, going to the edges and setting those edges. So I mean, he has the potential to be a pretty decent contributor in your IDP leagues, especially if he is able to learn some of those pass rushing techniques from his brother. I mean, he could be a monster sleeper for you, especially if you're looking for a boom bust guy working the perimeter. So a guy to keep your eye on, TJ Watt.
Yeah, man. My last guy is Jarrell Everett, Tennessee. I was a tight end, man. I think he's going to be great any offense he goes to, man. He has a wide receiver body, very elusive. He's not quite that polished, but if he goes to the right system, man, I think that he's going to excel the tight end position, a position that is a plethora to it. That's going to be fantasy value now that give you great options to be able to get, especially now with these rookies coming in there, man. So Gerald Everett, a guy that you should look out for.
All right, was that all of us? That's everybody. All right, cool. With
That's
that,
all
right, let's sign off really fast with some bold predictions. Mine is that 3 veterans will be traded for picks in this draft. So, and I think that'll be throughout the whole draft. Maybe that's in day 1. We've heard obviously rumors. So we talk about oh my God, why am I blanking? Richard Sherman is one, of course. Malcolm Butler another. We've heard all the things about
Garoppolo.
Garoppolo, thank you. I'm ready to go to bed. That's what this is. So all these guys, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. We've heard rumors about plenty of other guys as well. So I think that very rare that we see players traded for picks, especially during the draft. And I'm going to say boldly that we might see 3 of them during this year's draft.
That's bold.
My bold prediction is that 6 defensive backs will be drafted in the first 15 picks.
Ooh, in the first 15 picks.
It's possible. I mean, this is a deep defensive back draft, so that's possible.
Mm.
It sounds bolder than it might be, actually, because I could totally see it happening.
Yeah.
I could too. I've got 2 because apparently I'm an overachiever. 6 linebackers will go in the first round of the draft. 6 linebackers. There's some really, really good linebackers in this draft. Obviously, Reuben Foster being the cream of the crop, and then I love me some Hassan Reddick. I mean, he's just ridiculous. But I think 6 of those guys are going to come off the board in the first round. And then this one is my favorite one. Deshaun Watson will drop out of the first round and be the 3rd quarterback off the board.
That's crazy. He's our consensus top quarterback, right? Still?
Yep.
He is the consensus top quarterback, but the way I'm seeing things kind of pan out, I think he's going to drop out of the first round.
Wow. So with that bombshell, that's going to do it for us today. Make sure you guys tune in on Friday where we will be reviewing day 1 from the NFL draft. We're going to be talking about all the first-round picks, what surprised us, what stood out to us, and what you should be excited for. You, of course, being the listener, fantasy-wise, of course. So make sure you guys listen. We are on iTunes and Stitcher, of course, Podcast Addict, just probably how you're listening to us now. Make sure you subscribe, though, because you don't want to miss a show. We're here every Tuesday and Friday. Again, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. You can follow us on Twitter at the FF Fanatics to get up-to-date news, and you can follow us individually. I am at GPalmerFFF, CJ at CJ Hickman89, Jason is at Jason Cabrera 13, and of course, support the show. Head over to patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. Probably our worst kept secret. What we're talking about this week will be our own mock draft. So, maybe we could submit it to one of those, submit your mock drafts and see if we can win some tickets to something. That could be fun. All right, any parting thoughts before we sign off, guys?
Guys, keep the reviews coming, man. Get your name out there to the listeners, man.
Jason?
I like it.
Like it. All right, we're out of here. Everyone, take care. Have a great week.
Coming.
We will see you post day 1 after the first round. Everyone, take care. Have a good week. Enjoy the first round of the draft. Bye.
Breaking news. Curious George decides to mind his own business.
This is why people listen all the way to the end.
That's it. Gotta give you gold at the end.
Only reason.